Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, late afternoon. So here we are to talk to you today about the intelligent integration with Copilot, APIs, and what role MuleSoft has to play. Quickly introducing myself, Ajay Kumar, a part of the MuleSoft pre-sales team based out of London, and I have with me my colleague.
I'm Akshata Sawan, developer advocate at Salesforce from London. Yeah, of course.
Brilliant. So just before we start, and this follows every Salesforce presentation that you've seen, the forward-looking statement. Please make your buying decisions based on what is available today as a generally available product, and we will be talking about certain capabilities that are actually going to be rolling out in the future. But before we actually begin, just wanted to get a poll from the audience in the room. How many of you actually heard, how many times have you heard Copilot? Today and yesterday. Far too many times, I assume. So, the topic that we want to cover today is primarily going to be centered around it, but both of us actually come from the integration background and powered by MuleSoft. We want to definitely drive how this is actually getting to be influenced. So what's really happening in the industry? And this is typically what we want to talk to you about, the inflection point. And you've seen companies and enterprises going through this change of era. It started with the migration to cloud era, went into the data explosion era, and then focus around automation. While a lot of companies are still in this process of journey in this whole onboarding cycle, there's this new bubble that has just come into the cycle of generative AI. And what we found is a lot of companies are still not ready yet. And when we did a survey through our MuleSoft connectivity report, which we publish every year, we found over 86% of the IT leaders found that they're still not fully ready. And they actually feel generative AI would have a significant role to play in their organization. So you can actually imagine this wave is actually very significant. If we continue, and when we start to look introspectively into each organization, what we found is there are further deep down buried more problems. And these are the problems that each one of the companies are trying to solve at their own company level. And these are the ones around how data systems are very siloed. They've been acquiring companies, they've been building systems together, and this has been adding a lot of technical debt over a period of time. And while they're dealing with this, there's a lot of security and governance that they're still trying to figure out. And that being said, how does this all relate to the wave of generative AI? And when we did this again, the connectivity report, we found that 62% of the IT leaders found that this is actually very hard for them to keep up with the growing business demand. So with generative AI wave coming in, it's actually added to a lot more requirement being fed into their buckets. So with that being said, one of the things that we want to definitely talk about is we want to make this diagram look as ugly as possible, just to show the impact of what every company is going to go through. Because each of the divisions in the company will, be it financial services, be it human resources department, be it the engineering product organization, they would have a bunch of applications that they would end up working with on a day-to-day basis. Now imagine, to actually encapsulate this in the whole generative AI landscape, you need to be able to connect all these dots together, the complexity that it actually beats up to. And when we found through the survey, over 991 applications reside in an enterprise, and far too less of those are actually well connected. And imagine when you have to still go on and deal with all these large language models and these applications, there's still a lot more connectivity that's still going to be missing. You've seen this message across today. The key elements to driving and enabling essential elements to generative AI starts with data. You heard the narrative around Data Cloud. We spoke about user interface through our prompt builder. You've seen the Copilot in action. You've also seen where it actually embeds. And then there's, of course, the models. There are models that customers will bring of their own. There are models that Salesforce will ship as a part of the product. But at the end result is very important because all of us are trying to get to the outcome. If you're actually trying to do this without an outcome, there's no result or no real meaning to do this. So we want to talk briefly about Einstein Copilot and the key pillars of Einstein Copilot. It all starts with trust. And you typically saw how important trust is as a key element, because based on trust layer, it was an imperative, very important pivot that we did, which enables us to collect feedback, enables us to do toxicity detection at the layer of trust, and also being able to really ground what is to be passed and what's not to be passed. And that being done in the flow of work is important for any business customer. And all of this is powered by the experience services. What that means is typically customers can engage with us through any channel and with their customers through any channel, be it web or mobile. Einstein Copilot can work in those experiences. And all of this data is grounded, the data in context, the data available within the org, data available within the large scale of data cloud, all of that is grounded for the context. And then there's definitely extensibility. We will let our partners, our ISV partners, App Exchange partners, build and extend Copilot further downstream. So you'll actually see that innovation continuing. So what are these Copilot actions? You probably heard these in the context of the Copilot action standalone, but we want to give you a perspective through the integration lens. Copilot action at the very simplest meaning are predefined actions. So the word predefined is very important here. It's almost like you're feeding the really ability to actually take a particular action. Based on the predefined action, the user doesn't have to worry about defining 10 different or 100 different steps. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like go through all these things. The Copilot should be able to take an action. For example, if you have to give a Copilot an action saying, go and update this field, the first thing it should be able to do is look up what is the right field. Then come back and say, I picked the right field. And then take whatever is the user action to go and update that field and then drive an acknowledgement back saying, I've updated that field. So while you're writing your action, you don't have to mention all these steps. The Copilot should be able to take this and preemptively get back to you with the result. And there are standard actions that we will ship from Salesforce. There will be custom actions that our customers will continue to build on their own. And that's the one that we want to talk to you and show you today with respect to the scope of integration. So the custom actions could be defined by several creation methods. And you saw how custom actions very well embeds itself with prompt builder, thereby actually being able to give the user a power to invoke a custom action within prompt builder. And then we don't want to forget about flows, to be able to actually chain those actions, one flow leading to another flow. And then definitely there's the appeal to the Salesforce Apex developers to actually being able to invoke external actions. And then the last one is around external services. So we will be doing a lot of tooling and mechanism around how APIs will be able to call or how LLMs will be able to interact with our Einstein Copilot. And that's the sample view of what we wanted to show you today. And I'll pass it over to Akshata to give you a view of what that means from a tools in action, particularly from a MuleSoft perspective.
Thank you, Ajay. That was a really great insight on Einstein Copilot actions. So by now you must have understood like what Einstein Copilot is, what it does, what Einstein Copilot actions are. So what role MuleSoft has in it, what role MuleSoft plays, that's what we are going to see. And also with the help of live demo, we are going to see how we can build intelligently, how we can leverage our APIs, Copilot, and MuleSoft in order to build an intelligence integration system. So for the ones who don't know what actually MuleSoft does, so traditionally, if you must have heard, MuleSoft is a middleware integration tool, it's an ESB tool. It helps you with the iPaaS solutions. But that's not all. There is so much more on the plate. So it has so much under the frame when it comes to integration services. Basically, it helps you with automation, it helps you with integration. You can connect with any systems, you can connect across different systems, bring data from silos, and have everything at one place. You can manage the entire API lifecycle with the help of MuleSoft. You can design your APIs, you can publish them, create them, secure them, and govern them at one place with the help of MuleSoft. With that being said, we'll straight away dive into the demo, and we'll see what we have got today. So today, with the help of 5 simple steps, I'm going to show you how we can build custom actions with the help of MuleSoft, how we can intelligently call MuleSoft APIs with Copilot actions. So for that, the first step would be getting your MuleSoft APIs ready. With MuleSoft, all of us, we have been building APIs, right? But what's new when it comes with Copilot? So we need to make sure our REST APIs are published in Exchange We are making them in OAS specification because that is a standard that is supported, and they are HTTPS enabled. So let me show you the REST API that I have built. I have a retail customer system API that I have already published in Exchange. Okay, give me a minute. And this is the API basically. I have built this API using any point, like basically using MuleSoft. I have got this published in Exchange. It's deployed on Cloud Hub. And let me also show you the Postman request. So for one of them. So there are 4 methods. We'll be just working around a very simple one, the get one. So it is returning customer data, some delivery addresses for me. So that being said, that was a step 1, getting your MuleSoft API ready. Okay. Moving on to the next part. There is step 2. So in step 2, we are creating name credentials. So in order to connect with our external services, we need our name credential. In future, it could be a different credential, but currently we are creating name credential using the MuleSoft API URL, the endpoint basically. So in Postman, we have seen the URL as retail customer system API URL. This is the URL that we are going to use to create a name credential. So if you are having authentication request, if you're going to have a username, password, token with authentication, that is the information that you're going to enter with name credential. So let me go into my Salesforce account and name credentials. I have already created one simple name credential for MuleSoft. It was a legacy credential. Okay. And if you can see the URL, I've configured it to the retail customer system API, the Cloud Hub URL basically. So that was our step 2. Okay. Going ahead with the step 3. So that's going to be calling MuleSoft as an external services. So external services, basically we are importing our MuleSoft API, which we have published on Exchange, as an external service. So it makes it easier for us to call it from Salesforce. So already the APIs that are published in Exchange, and we are going to import them in our Salesforce platform as an external service. For this, we don't need any schema generation. It's very easy to import. But if you're doing the same thing using an Heroku app or any other external app, you actually need to design your own schema. You need to define the own methods. But if you're doing this using MuleSoft, any of the MuleSoft APIs, RPA, or anything, it's actually the classes, the methods, everything is generated for you by default. So let me show you how it is done. So you can actually go ahead with the external service module. Okay, external services. And you can click on add external service. You have 2 options. So suppose if your Mule application is not on MuleSoft, it's a different application, you can do it via your API specification. But we have the liberty, we have the privilege of using the Mule application, MuleSoft services. So I'll go ahead and reroute it to MuleSoft services, where I can see an option to import. Yeah, I can see an option to import. And there are going to be different APIs that are already published in Exchange, also the different versions that I can select. I can go ahead and click on the name credential. For now, I'm just doing it retail, and then select the name credentials that we have selected already, created before in the first step. And then we are going to import it, and we get the operations as well. So these operations, they're basically the methods that we have created as an API. So the different endpoints, different methods. So these are the post operation, get customers by ID, different kind of operations. Okay. So this is how we are creating external services. So as Ajay has shown, we had options to like create Copilot actions with the help of Flow, Apex, external services. So while external service is something for future, we can still create external Copilot actions with the help of Flow and Apex. So I have created a very simple flow to trigger these external services, or basically to call this external services. So let me go into flows and show you the very simple retail customer flow that I've created. So this is like a very, very simple working flow, which is going to get me all the data from MuleSoft. So basically this flow is calling a get customer endpoint, which was published or which was imported as an external service. So that action is directly called here from the flow. So if I debug this flow, I have to pass a customer ID as a URI parameter. it gives me output as a retail customer, the same like we've seen on the Postman. And the output for a simplicity is like a variable that I've defined, which I will be using in future, is like an email address that I'm retaining for my future purpose. Okay? So once my flow is ready, once I have imported the external services, the next step is diving straight into Copilot. So let me go ahead with Copilot actions. So here they have, Salesforce has provided some standard actions. But today what we're creating is going to be altogether a new custom action. So let me go ahead and create a new custom action. For a reference type, as we said, it's going to be Apex, Flow, Prompt Template. In future, we are also going to have external services. So in that case, we don't have to go via Flow, or maybe we don't have to go via Apex. It will be directly an external services that we are calling the MuleSoft API specification. Today, for simplicity, we are calling the same flow that we created. I'll select the retail customer flow that we have seen. We have just debugged it right now, like some time back. I'll click next. I will also provide proper information, proper details for it. So for this flow, I have already filled in all the details and all, and that's how it's popping up. So it's taking all the information that I had entered on the flow right to my Copilot action. And the more information we feed in, the more the better, I would say, for a Copilot to understand our query, our prompts. For inputs, I'm going to mark that, yes, I need a customer ID as an input. It's a required field. I also need to collect the data from the user. For outputs, for now, I just have one field, email address, which is like for a simple use case. And I want this field to be shown in the conversation. I'll click Finish. And my Copilot action has been successfully created. It was that simple. Now, in order to test this Copilot action, I'll go into Copilots. I'll go into the Copilot Builder, basically. I'll open this in Builder and get it tested. So the Copilot action library has the newly added action, which I will be assigning it to Copilot. Okay? And my action was added. Let me refresh the conversation preview with Einstein. And let me ask, can you get me email address of retail customer with ID, this one. Let's keep my fingers crossed. Yeah, so it's figuring out. Yes. So it got me the email address, and it has actually fetched the information from the MuleSoft API that we had published, that we have got as an external service. So this is a very basic one that is getting me only an email address, but you can imagine the scalability that we can take it ahead in future, and what all we can achieve with it. So going back to our slides, as we have just 2 minutes. Give me a minute. Yeah. So these were the next steps, like triggering our external services. You can do it with Apex. You can do it with Flow. Today, for simplicity, we have seen it how to do it with Flow. And then you're creating a Copilot actions. We have seen how to create a Copilot action in a very simple manner. Here I've also provided an example of an Apex class. So suppose if you want to go ahead and if you want to try triggering your external services from Apex, you can go ahead in a developer console and try that thing out as well. This is a very basic sample code for you. And what we have seen so far, so this is like the summary, I would say, or the overall picture. Like, we have seen all these steps. We have first created the MuleSoft API as an OAS specification. And also, one thing I forgot to mention, it needs to be like HTTPS enabled. You need to add a TLS security to your MuleSoft API. That is something I learned while I was figuring out with all these external services. I created a name credential, and it was a legacy name credential. Then I created external services, and you can trigger it out using Flow or Apex. And then we are creating Copilot actions, which are internally using and calling MuleSoft APIs. In future, we don't need this to the fork kind of thing that we have. We don't need Apex or Flow. We can directly have external services calling the Copilot actions. So let's wait when it will be rolled out for us, because I'm super excited for the external services with Copilot actions, because that's going to be more simplified for us to get started with it. So that's been all about Copilot, MuleSoft APIs. And thank you so much. I know it's the end of the day too, and you are still here with us. So that means a lot. Thank you. If you guys have any feedback, if you would love to share your feedback, your comments with us, and how we can make this thing better, then please, and also get a coffee for it. So yeah, do share your feedback with us. And if you guys have any questions, I know we are out of time. We are exactly on time. So we'll be here, Ajay and I.
Yeah, happy to take questions.
Yeah, happy to take questions, connect with you on LinkedIn, and yeah, happy safe flight back to your home.
Thank you.
Thank you.